All right, one last look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Monday morning. A couple of different accidents to report. One at Summit Parkway near Clemson Road, another one at Platt, Springs, and Kaiser. I-20 westbound near Clemson, Dutch Fork Road at Broad River Road in Chapin. Bush River near I-20. Well, there's a lot of accidents today. And one more at Fair Road and Wilson Boulevard. Today going to be cold and breezy with a high of 47. Tomorrow, a little better, high of 52. And then Wednesday, cloudy with a high of 64. Currently 32 in Columbia here in the game. Nine o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you here, coming off of a loaded sports weekend. My goodness, there was so much to keep up with this past weekend. Baseball, men's basketball, women's basketball, of course the Olympics, hockey winning the gold medal yesterday. We got a lot to get to in the next 2 hours, Jack.
Dude, I'm loving the hair, first off.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I did finally commit to just chopping most of it off on Saturday.
I don't blame you, man. You know, it's a fresh start. It's a clean slate for you to just grow your hair out however you want now. And, yeah, man, it looks solid.
Well, here's my dilemma when it comes to my hair. And I have cowlicks and stuff like that make my hair kind of funky. I always feel like when I go get a haircut and I try and tell the person what I want, it never turns out the way that I want.
I agree.
And, you know, for a short period of time, like, all right, it's okay. Then when it starts to grow out, it kind of gets kind of funky. So I was like, you know what? Let me just bite the bullet and avoid having to deal with that. So I went to the place that I get my hair cut at, and I was like, you know what? Just buzz it. I think it's like a 3 all the way around. And now I don't have to deal with it in the morning. It's short. My head's cold, though. And, of course, today it's 40 degrees outside. But, yeah, I just was like, I'm sick of dealing with this. Let's make this easy.
Yeah. So, but you're right. What a loaded weekend of sports. What a weekend for the United States of America, winning the gold medal in not just women's hockey, but men's hockey too. What a game yesterday. I know we're going to dive plenty into it, but, man, I woke up at like 7:45 yesterday, watched that game all the way through, sat intensely on my couch once overtime started, and, man, it was just crazy. It was crazy watching the United States win a gold medal in men's hockey because the last one they won was 46 years ago to the day.
I don't know about you. I wasn't alive for that one, Jack.
No, neither was I. And, you know, talking to people that were able to watch it, it just sounded so awesome. And this isn't the same type of situation because, make no mistake, this is not a miracle team. This is an NHL all-star team going out here and winning this thing. But it was so cool watching it. And it's something that I think a lot of us are going to remember for the rest of our lives, which is really cool.
Well, and look, the Miracle on Ice has the aura that it has because there was also the underlying tone with the Soviets and all that kind of stuff. Or not tone, the underlying story with the Soviet Union and all that kind of stuff and what was going on in the world at the time that just added to what made that moment special. But what a rivalry between the U.S. and Canada going back, really going back years. But you come off of the Four Nations last year, which was heartbreak for America, knowing the next time they were going to get a chance to see them would be in the Olympics, and obviously end up playing for gold. It going to overtime, 3-on-3. Like, it was blast. I had so much fun watching that. As somebody that I'm not a night in, night out hockey person because I don't have a team to follow. But every time I get the opportunity to watch hockey, I have so much fun.
If the Thrashers were still around, would that be your team, I'm guessing?
Yeah, and look, there's always the rumor about bringing them back, and there's discussion about that right now. And you know what? If they brought them back, I'd go full in on that. I just haven't had a hockey team to care about in a long time.
How is there not a market for the Thrashers to leave? Like, I don't know the full backstory of the Thrashers and why they left, but I can't wrap my head around that. Like, Atlanta being the sports market that it is, the fan base that they have reaching across the Southeast, and yet they don't have a hockey team. I know the Hurricanes are around, and they have a loyal fan base, but man, it's crazy that the Thrashers are no longer like Atlanta does not have a hockey team. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, they've lost both of them to Canada, but things are in the works right now. I can't remember what the last update was, but maybe Atlanta will get a hockey team back, and I can go full force on being a hockey fan at that point in time. But we'll see. And yeah, we're going to get into that. Let's hear the gold medal call, as well as Canada's not taking it well. They're kind of sore losers.
They are not taking it well. And you know what, man? Let's hit the Sandstorm Pick Me Up, because it's a great time to do it right now. Perfect transition after a great win for the U.S. yesterday, and we'll get into some Gamecock sports.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
Oh, it is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick Me Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803 all nines. And it was indeed a loaded weekend of Gamecock sports. Starting off with baseball on Friday. Of course, salute to the troops, or salute to service weekend over the Founders Park, taking on all three of the major service academies. And I won't lie to you, Jack, the weekend did not start off well. I don't know what the vibe was at Founders Park on Friday. That was not a fun game to watch, because out of all the games we previewed for the weekend, I looked at the Army game and was like, oh, Army couldn't hit the ball to save their lives against Clemson. They're not starting their ace because they're saving them for Saturday. This should be a game that South Carolina should have no problem with, and they just got completely dominated. The final score doesn't look that bad because Carolina tacked on those runs late, but they were in a deep hole at 8-1 before they finally started putting some offense together.
It felt like at one point Army was going to win in run roll fashion. That's how bad things were. And you're right. Like, eventually South Carolina did tack on a few runs to make it a little bit of a closer game, but let's not mistake it. That was easily South Carolina's worst game of the year by far. Not even close. Pitching was pretty abhorrent in that game. Riley Goodman walked way too many guys. He just could not command the zone at all. And he hasn't looked great through 2 starts now, so hasn't really given you much length. And we'll see what happens for this weekend. But if it were up to me, I'd probably push him back to maybe Saturday in the weekend rotation for right now, and give somebody else that we'll talk about here in a little bit a chance to start on Friday after a really great outing this weekend. But yeah, not great from Goodman. Josh Gunther wasn't much better. He really made just 2 mistakes, to be honest. The second pitch of his outing goes off the foul pole for a home run, and then after a Terry Rooney mound visit, the next pitch, 3-run homer. So 2 pitches, 2 mistakes. Problem is South Carolina put 8 guys on base via free pass, and look, you're right. Army didn't hit the ball incredible this weekend. I mean, they hit 3 home runs in that game, sure. But South Carolina definitely gave them a lot of runners on base. And when you do that with a team like Army that's quick and can steal bases, they're playing their type of baseball and moving runners over, getting guys in. It worked out to perfection, and South Carolina just looked really, really rough on Friday.
Well, and that was the first time we've seen at that point through that'd be the 6th game of the season. Yeah,
yes.
The 6th game of the season that we'd seen pitching really struggle at all, because they had done a pretty good job through the most part through the first 5 games. And this is something that you're always going to be worried about when you have a true freshman playing that ace role that Riley Goodman is to start the season, is eventually he's going to go out there, not a true freshman, a redshirt freshman, eventually he's going to go out there and look like a guy that's starting for the first time at the college level. And again, great outing in the first game against Northern Kentucky the prior weekend. But yeah, he was struggling with command, and that's confidence and getting rattled and all that kind of stuff does come into play. Again, it's good to get these kind of jitters out now before you get into the thick of conference play coming up. And again, like you said, I mean, I know Maneri talked about it yesterday or over the weekend about maybe moving him to a different role for Clemson, which we'll obviously continue to preview as the week goes along. But yeah, it was good to get that out of the way on Friday and have the rest of the weekend go the way that it did. But, Riley Goodman, that's the ups and downs of being a pitcher at this level of baseball. You're going to have good weekends. You're going to have bad weekends. You just obviously hope the good outweigh the bad.
Yeah. Now, Saturday, much better game. Easily the best game. Probably the most complete performance South Carolina put together I think that's also what Paul Mainieri had to say about it after the game. Really good win, 8-0 shutout win over the Naval Academy. Ant Phillips pitched brilliantly. I think he probably needs to be starting on Friday night against Clemson, and I'll explain more in a second. 6 shutout innings, only gave up 1 hit. Didn't walk a ton of guys. He pitched really well to contact. Got himself into a little bit of trouble in, I think it was the 6th inning, walking 2 guys, getting squeezed on a few calls. But he pitched really well, gave you everything you needed. And look, you have to, we'll talk about it a lot this weekend, like you said, Tyler, but you got to win this Clemson series. You have to find a way to really string together 2 wins, to really make sure, like, okay, this season does have potential to be really good. The season's not over if you lose the series this weekend, but it sure makes you feel a lot better about things heading into SEC play. The best chance to do that, I think, is personally starting Ant Phillips on Friday night, giving him the ball. When he pitches the way he does, like he did on Saturday, he can be the ace of the staff. And nothing to discredit Goodman. He's been okay, but he's a redshirt freshman. That's a big spotlight to be pitching the first game of a pivotal series for this team that you desperately need to win after the way last year went. I think Amp gives you the best chance. Now, offensively, Will Craddock. How about him?
Oh, my God, man.
How about I have a feeling we're going to be talking about him a lot like this season. He is a stud. And honestly, I'll go out here and just say it right now. I thought Riley Goodman had SEC Freshman of the Year potential, and maybe he still does. Will Craddock. I think he's going to put the SEC on notice this year, just like Ethan Petrie did a few years ago back in 2023. So we're seeing a star in the making right here, and Gamecock fans, definitely cherish this time you have with Will Craddock, because it'll go by quick. But really good day for him, really good day for the offense in general, and just a nice bounce-back win over a good team.
Yeah, by the way, on the weekend, Craddock, and we'll get to what Mainieri had to say about him in a minute, 5 of 12, 6 RBIs, 2 home runs, both those being leadoff home runs on Saturday and Sunday. Like, yeah, you can't ask for more in a first less than a week, because he debuted on, Wednesday against Gardner-Webb. And in 5 days, your first 5 days as a a college baseball player, you couldn't really ask for much more than what he's given you. It's incredible. Now, yeah, he's going to cool off at some point, but, man, it's been fun to watch. And you get this anticipation every time the guy comes to the plate. Like, man, what amazing thing is he about to do now?
Exactly. And you mentioned it, Sunday, the first at-bat of the bottom of the first inning. He leads off again with a home run. Now, it looked like a routine flyout off the bat. Wind is blowing at 16 miles an hour at that point, and the ball just kept carrying, till it eventually cleared the fence, and the right fielder for Air Force is kind of just standing there like dazed and confused on what happened. And, Paul Mainieri apparently thought that ball was crushed, and
it didn't seem like it. Watching it on TV didn't seem like it.
When I asked him about it, I was like, like, what are you talking about? It was crushed? Like, I
thought he got under it a little bit.
I thought he got under it, too. Apparently, Craddock thought he crushed it, but nevertheless, cleared the yard, and just a great start to the year for Craddock. And then the offense scored 3 more runs in the second inning, but that would be enough for them to win 4-2 yesterday over the Air Force Academy. And the pitching, I think, was pretty solid. Brandon Stone didn't go super long into the game. He didn't pitch bad. He hasn't pitched bad in his 2 starts. He just hasn't gone super deep into games. So we'll see what happens with him moving forward. But, you'd like him to pitch a little bit deeper into games. But the bullpen was really good after that, most notably Zach Russell and then Alex Valentin, who pitched the final 3 innings and got the save. So he's looked really good out of the bullpen. I'd like to see maybe he gets a start this weekend. I think against Clemson, this would be a good time to pull the trigger on that. But, not a great day for the offense yesterday. But, again, you're dealing with 50, 40-degree weather. Winds are blowing crazy. You're facing pretty good relief pitching since Air Force isn't playing Charleston today after all. So they were able to throw a lot of their better guys yesterday. But still, I think mission accomplished this weekend in terms of bouncing back after a really ugly game on Friday.
Yeah, I think you got kind of a mixed bag of the 3 results of the weekend. One where you pretty much got dominated on Friday, one where you dominated yourself on Saturday, and then yesterday, it wasn't the prettiest game, and Paul Mainieri did give credit to Air Force's pitching, and they had their game canceled against Charleston so they could move things around and use some more arms that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have used because they didn't have to save them for today. Because when their relief pitching came in, it really kind of shut down South Carolina's offense. And, Brandon Stone didn't have a phenomenal outing necessarily early in the game. Didn't get too deep into it because he threw so many pitches in that first inning. But you found a way to win. And that's going to be a big key this year, especially as you get into SEC play, taking on all these ranked opponents, especially on the road, finding ways to win even if it's not pretty, right? So I think yesterday was a good sign in that regard of maybe you didn't play your best game, but you still found a way to come out on top. And hopefully that bodes well going forward.
And it was also just a good challenge to play teams that are going to give you a better fight than just about anybody from just a pure competitive standpoint. That really served the purpose this weekend, and Friday definitely resonated that challenge that South Carolina needs to be playing more as the aggressor, and I think they were for the most part. The final two games looked a lot better, and of course they won those games as a result.
We'll take a look at the stats that matter as well as hear what Mainieri's had to say after the game yesterday as well. Coming up next, it is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. Extra Point. Ty Red and Jack Veltri with you here on your Monday on the Game, going over everything that happened with Gamecock baseball over the weekend as they take 2 out of 3 against Service Academies, fall to Army on Friday, beat Navy on Saturday, and then wrap up the weekend with Air Force on Sunday. And I know, Air Force was going to bring in some stuff to do some cool pageantries and flyovers and stuff. But overall, Jack, how was the salute to service weekend and everything that was going on out there at the park?
It was very cool. Very well done by Paul Maneri to put it all on, and Mike Kozlowski from Air Force, the head coach there. Really great event and nice way to honor the United States and these men and these cadets that are going to be eventually fighting our battles in wars after their time at the academies is over. But yeah, really cool event. You had obviously after the second inning, South Carolina coming out to handshake all of the players and coaches and everything at these academies was really cool. They played the fight songs of the 3 academies throughout the weekend, which was really cool. And also, you just got to see some good baseball between these academies. I went back after Friday's loss to go watch Navy and Air Force play for a little bit, and really nice weather. Really, cool to see these two teams going up against each other. Just because it's so different than watching like an SEC game or something. Like these guys, like. They're going to be, fighting battles together someday, but man, they are going up against each other like they hate each other, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So really cool overall weekend. Just it felt very patriotic, and I think that's what Paul was really going for here.
Yeah, it was cool to watch on TV, and sharing the stories of the guys on those 3 respective teams was neat. They put up their schedule of what they do in a day, which is insane.
Yeah, I saw that. That was I don't think any of us could do that. That was nuts.
They are a different breed and very special, and obviously cool to get to honor them and certainly respect what they're going to do for our country once they're done at those respective service academies. So very cool to get that highlighted over the weekend. As far as the stats that matter that we look at offensively, runners in scoring position I feel like is going to be the big conversation point for almost any game this team plays this year. And when you look at the entire weekend, 8 of 31 overall. Terrible on Friday, better on Saturday. Didn't get a ton of opportunities on Sunday. Went 2 for 6. So, again, it's an area that you could certainly be better in. You did enough in the last 2 games to get you where you needed to be. But something that you want to continue to see improve this season.
Yeah, you definitely need to be. Look, it's not. Baseball is one of those sports where it's like it's tough to be consistently good, right? Because you're going to go through slumps. Like as well as Will Craddock's hitting right now. He's eventually going to hit a wall and go through a slump. We're seeing that right now with a guy like Tyler Bach, who, I mean, that's another big stat from this weekend. He didn't have a single hit this weekend. And this is a guy that just a week ago was probably South Carolina's best hitter with the way he was swinging the bat. So my point is slumps are going to happen, and so are times where you're not going to come through with runners in scoring position. But what really matters is that you're getting the job done in the key moments of the game. That one moment in the game, you get the big hit and you win the game. That's more than enough. But yes, they do probably need to hit a little bit better with runners in scoring position. I don't think it was terrible yesterday, but they didn't have a ton of opportunities. Saturday was pretty good. Friday was really rough, as we know, but everything was rough on Friday.
Runners on base for the weekend, 14 of 38 overall. Great on Saturday, go 9 of 19. Again, Friday, rough, 3 of 15, and not much better on Sunday, 2 of 14. Again, when that bullpen started coming in for Air Force, they really kept South Carolina in check there. So overall on the weekend, not pretty solid, but again, Saturday, doing a lot of heavy lifting there. That kind of goes hand in hand with runners in scoring position. And 24 total strikeouts on the weekend. Funny enough, Friday was the one game they didn't really strike out a ton for 3. But over the weekend, obviously, you want to see those numbers come down a little bit. But I wouldn't say it's the highest level of concern right now.
I don't think the strikeouts are anywhere near the concern right now. I just think it is, again, it was the case last year. It still could be this year. It is hitting well with runners in scoring position. But I got to say, man, I do think overall you've gotten, for the most part, you've gotten good production out of the guys that you were hoping would be doing better. Like Logan Sutter, for instance, is hitting so much better right now. He had a really nice weekend. picking up 5 hits, I believe it was, and just looking really sharp out there. And some other guys have played pretty well. There are others that, you'd like to see. Ethan Lozama probably hit a lot more. Dawson Harmon a little bit. Tyler Bach obviously now only hitting 188, but you're getting a lot of production from these guys, and the strikeouts for sure, I don't think are the most concerning thing. If anything, 35 walks so far throughout the 8 games has been really good.
Yeah, that's good play discipline, which is something that we're obviously concerned with, coming into the year. On the flip side of things, you had 27 total strikeouts from your pitching staff. Hudson Lee had a 1-3 strikeout inning in the the top of the ninth on Saturday against Navy, still pitching on that broken foot, which is still insane. Total free passes on the weekend, so that's walks and hit batters. Only 14, though 8 of those came on Friday, which again is kind of the story of where South Carolina was struggling. And how about this? They're continuing to be a team that doesn't give up a lot of extra base hits. 5 total on the weekend, including none yesterday against Air Force.
The thing about yesterday was that Air Force, and this was kind of the case with, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Wofford earlier in the week, where these guys are just not hitting the ball hard. They're hitting little short grounders in the infield, and because they're quick, they're making it down to first base for infield singles. So that happened a lot yesterday. It happened a lot earlier in the week, and it's not, look, you'd rather get up singles than extra base hits because your pitching has been good enough to work it out of those jams. But yeah, when guys do get on base for those extra base hits, it does not come very often so far, and we'll see if that changes this weekend. But I think that's kind of a good confidence booster, knowing that you've really done a good job of really keeping the ball in the yard.
Only 3 total errors on the weekend. The field on Saturday had a ball go under Harmon's glove at third. A ball went off Park's glove at a second base. And then on Sunday, Scobie had kind of the throw that was a little erratic there in the ninth inning, which did make me sweat a little bit. I'm like, oh boy, don't, because that put the tying run at the plate. And, again, one swing of the bat and we're tied up. And we're talking about a whole different game here. So sweated a little bit on that one, but it ended up being all right.
I do worry a little bit about the errors. Not gonna lie, they have not been great so far defensively. Harmon usually has been pretty good over at third base. That one ball just got under his glove. Same deal with Eric Parker, who came in right before, so he was probably a little bit cold at that point. But yeah, KJ has made a few errors this year. He's usually very good defensively, still is. But yeah, some of these plays, these are mistakes that could certainly be avoided moving forward.
We'll certainly get into what Mainieri had to say coming up a little bit later. I also want to do a vibe check as well now that we have 8 games in the books, and obviously we're going to be looking ahead to the very important Clemson series coming up later on this week. So we'll get some of y'all's thoughts on that on the Firehouse Subs text line. But up next, we do have to talk about injuries already for Gamecock football, as we're not even at spring practice yet, and perhaps the most important acquisition of the entire offseason is now a question mark, which we'll get into coming up on the other side. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Tyrod here for our friends over at Twin Peaks. Do you consider yourself a bourbon connoisseur? Then you belong over at Twin Peaks. They are proud to pour an exclusive and extensive collection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, and tequilas, including their barrel selects, which are handpicked by their team and bottled just for you. Supplies are limited, though, so check with your local lodge to see what's being poured today, tomorrow, or this upcoming weekend And if you're heading down to the lodge, of course, you can grab some delicious scratch-made food as well. Pull up a bar stool and take in whatever sports action you want to. We are in one of the best times of the entire year from a sports standpoint, with baseball, with basketball, hockey going to get started back up now that the Olympics are over as well. And again, only one place to take in all that great action with our friends over at Twin Peaks. If you're in Columbia, right down the street from us, here in the Vista. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry with you here on your Monday on the Game. Before we get away from the baseball discussion, do want to let you know the Crescent Construction Grand Slam contest is ongoing. If a Gamecock hitter goes yard with the bases loaded, you could win all the cash in the pot that goes up by $25 each and every game. Sponsored by our friends over at Crescent Construction. You can go online to 1075thegame.com and register for the Crescent Construction Grand Slam contest. That means there should be $225 up for grabs when they take on Queens coming up on Wednesday, and hopefully you can win that money whenever that Grand Slam does happen. You know, Jack, this Gamecock fan base has been through a lot over the years, just in the past calendar year alone. And there are some headlines that happened where you just kind of throw your hands up and you just go, really? Is this really happening? And that's how I felt as I saw rumors swirling about with Jacarius Peak that ended up being confirmed as the weekend went along that he did indeed suffer an injury sometime within the past week.
Yeah, it was a lower body injury, and I think some people were freaking out that it was going to be his ACL and he had tore it or something, or a tendon, but South Carolina just reported or described it as a lower body injury, and that he'll be expected back, this season. So when that is, no idea. We'll see. We are hearing from Shane Beamer tomorrow when he does introduce new special teams coordinator Matthew Spiley. So I'm sure we'll get further confirmation on what that's all going to look like.
Don't think there's going to be a lot of special teams questions tomorrow.
No, I don't think so. But that's the nature of the business. So. God.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, and apparently this happened at a basketball tournament, but I don't know. The only thing that was really reported that it's a lower body injury, and he's going to be back this season. So that's good. I mean, he won't be out there for spring practice, but I think honestly, given the way that spring practice really, who knows if I don't even know if there's going to be a game at the end of spring. So it's not really, as long as he's ready to go for the season, I think that's the most important thing here. And I think in that sense, South Carolina caught a major break.
And, I'm a very superstitious person, and I heard about the chicken curse about the time that I got here. And there may be some validity to it, right? Because out of all the position groups that we didn't want to hear a single word about dealing with injuries this entire offseason, it would have been offensive line. That's been a problem in the past. Obviously, it's a unit that's been almost completely turned over since the end of last year. If there were a single offensive lineman that you could not afford to have suffer an injury, it would be Jacarius Peak, right? We talk about how big of a get that was for Carolina. When you look at all these lists and opinions from national columnists on college football, they all say, man, Jacarius Peak is going to be this big deal for Carolina to shore up that offensive line, and then he gets hurt, right? And again, the statement from Coach Beamer was Jacarius Peak suffered a lower body injury earlier this week and will miss spring practice. We expect him to be available this year. That's still very wide open, right?
Yeah.
For one, what is that lower body injury? Is it a knee? Is it a hip? Is it a foot? Did he break his leg? I don't know. Again, it seems people are speculating that this is something to do with his knee, but we don't know that for sure. And they expect him to be available this year. Now, does that mean in game 1? Does that mean in game 10? Does that mean in game 4? That's still very open to interpretation at this point in time. And especially when you talk about offensive linemen and a lower body injury, because those guys carry a lot of weight, doing the job that they do, these kind of things can become a persistent problem, right? And to my knowledge, I don't think he's really dealt with injuries a lot in his career going back to NC State. But you have, especially if it's a knee problem, right? You can get yourself back to a good place where you can play, and then it flares up again and again and again. And I hope we're not talking about a season where Jacarius Peak has to be in and out of the lineup or suffers a season-ending injury because he comes back too soon or whatever. But when you have this injury and the statement that we get is so wide open, these are the kind of things that rightfully run through your mind of, oh my God, if it's this, then that, if it's this, then that we're going to be speculating and worrying about for the next 6 months.
This guy has been very consistent over his career. You mentioned he has played a lot. He's appeared in 38 games with 32 starts, 14 at left tackle, 18 at right tackle. He's accumulated over 2,200 offensive snaps over the last 3 years. That's really impressive. So this guy has been very consistent in playing a lot and staying on the field. And it would definitely hurt to lose him. Now, let's also put it this way. If he were out for any period of time, I think it's okay for the first few games, because I think if your offensive line cannot do well without Peak during the Kent State game, the Towson game, and the Mississippi State game, then I think there are bigger problems. And we're kind of back to square one with the offensive line being an issue. But you would think with a new group and a new coach, they're going to be able to handle their business in those first 3 games with or without Jacarius out there. But hopefully he'll be back. Hopefully he'll just be there when the season begins, right? That's the hope. But if he were to miss any time, I think you can live without him out there for those first few games.
Well, if you can't guarantee me that he's going to be 100% by the time the Kent State game rolls around, then I say absolutely do not play him
because those
first 2 weeks.
Those knees, man, those guys all wear the knee braces, but they wear it for a reason because they're always like bending down on their knees, like
and they're carrying a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But they're 300 plus pounds. That the human body is not meant to carry that much weight.
Jacarius Peak is 310 pounds. He's 6'4", 310. He's a huge guy, and he's definitely your best offensive lineman that you have on this roster right now. The last thing you want, and this was a crazy injury that South Carolina, I think is the last thing they wanted to happen. But the fact that it's not going to force him to miss the year, I think is a really good sign. And so, yes, if it does require him to miss a game or two to start the year, because you want to make sure he's not taking any chances and that he's 100% ready to go for the games that matter later on in the year, so be it. I think that's okay because your offensive line, this also gives Josiah Thompson a chance. If Peak is out for any period of time, it gives a guy like Josiah Thompson to really bounce back and step in. When a few weeks ago, when he announced he was coming back, we had no idea where he was going to play just because it's like, oh, Jacarius Peak is likely going to take his spot at one of the tackle positions. So Josiah's going to have to figure something else out and compete for another spot. But maybe this is an opportunity for him to step in if Peak is out at all.
Yeah, I think this speaks volumes to how much stock we're putting into Jacarius Peak being the difference maker on this offensive line. And look, there's a reason left tackles get paid as much as they do at the professional level and now the college level too, because of how important of a position it is, especially when you talk about protecting a quarterback's blind side, dealing with edge rushers and all that kind of stuff. And it's an area that last year you struggled with mightily because of Josiah Thompson taking that step back. In Carolina, we don't know what the number figures are, but I would imagine they pay top dollar to get Jacarius Peak to come here because of how sought after of a prospect he was in the transfer portal. So we expect him to come in here and be the catalyst for this offensive line being a whole lot better, because if you can be good at left tackle, you hope that the other four spots on the offensive line can follow suit instead of having guys, especially like the left guard, having to help chip and stuff like that to help out a left tackle that's struggling. You feel like Jacarius Peak can handle his business on his own, and now that suddenly goes up in the air. And again, he's not going to practice in the spring. Who knows what he's going to be like by the time fall camp rolls around. And now that you have what is potentially a knee injury, something to do with his lower body, I think every time he's out there, we're on pins and needles of him potentially getting hurt again, right? And football happens that way. Injuries happen and all that kind of stuff. And, the Beamer and all teams do this. They've been doing like the little basketball tournaments and non-football events within the team for years. This is nothing new, and I get it. People are upset that it's an injury happening at a non-football type of event. But if they weren't doing it with the team, they'd be doing it themselves at the gym or something like that. So these kind of things can happen no matter what. I'm not as upset about how it happened. I'm just like, man, of all people to lose, this is not the guy you needed to lose.
Yeah, and I would be interested to hear if this actually did happen.
Again, it's allegedly happened during the basketball.
Yes, and everyone wants it canceled now and whatnot, which I understand. But you can't really blame Shane for putting on an event to help bring the team together. I haven't heard of an injury happening at that event before, and this is the first time I've heard of something happening like that. So hopefully it was just a freak thing that happened, and Jacarius will be good to go for the year because South Carolina is gonna need him, throughout this year for sure.
Yeah. Well, again, if the left tackle spot was shored up a season ago, sure there were going to be other struggles on the offensive line, but I can't imagine how big of a difference that would have made just from a protection standpoint, allowing Sellers more time. Having a great left tackle last year, could that have been worth another win or two? I think it could have been. Again, it doesn't drastically change your entire season, I don't think, but it certainly would have helped.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
So we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Again, as you mentioned, we'll hear from Beamer coming up tomorrow as he introduces Coach Smiley, who we'll dive into again coming up in just a second as he was officially hired by South Carolina over the weekend. So we'll hit that on the other side to wrap up the hour. It is the Extra Point. It's Howard Head and Jack Feltry on your Monday here on The Game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central. It's not the Gamecock Central takeover hour yet. It's the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri wrapping up hour number 1 here on your Monday on the Game. Coming up Friday, April 3rd, by the way, the Game Spring Golf Classic officially returns to Chartwood Golf Club in West Columbia. It's going to be featuring Saki's Morning Libations Bar, onion sausage provided by the the Lexington Gamecock Club, and the Golf Gun makes its return as well. So excited to be out there hanging out. If you want to join us, $400 for a team. Give Chartwood a call at 803-755-2000 and press the number 2 to register. Again, 803-755-2000. Press the number 2 to register for the Game's Spring Golf Classic at Chartwood on April 3rd. Real quick, before we get into the Matthew Smiley hire, once again, did have a text on the text line from our baseball conversation. Somebody wants clarification on what happened with the umpire yesterday and that long delay. Do you know what happened?
Honestly, I could not tell you. I just don't know exactly. We never really heard anything about it after it happened. So it was after Air Force made a pitching change, and the umpire, the home plate ump, walks to there's a locker room in left field for them. So the guy walked back there. He looked okay. I didn't see anything. Normally in these situations, it's either a guy gets hit by a backswing or a foul ball hits him or something. He just gets woozy. I don't know. That's typically what happens in those situations, but I didn't see anything that would have stood out as to that being the case because it happened after a pitching change.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was feeling sick. I don't want to speculate, but I don't know exactly the reason why. So, yeah, he didn't return, and then they had one of the other umps go put on gear, and that took a little bit. So it was about a 10, 15-minute delay, and then they ran with 3 umpires the rest of the game. But, yeah, hopefully that ump is doing okay because that was, I don't know what happened. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And for yesterday, because the wind was blowing so hard, my power kept going out. So it would, and whenever your power goes out, it takes 5 minutes for your internet to reset. So I kept getting behind on the game because I'd be watching, power would go out, and then have to wait 5 minutes for it to come back up. So I kept getting behind, and thankfully, when you're watching on the ESPN app, you can speed through commercials. So that 10 to 15 minute stretch, because the first however many minutes of the game I kept getting behind on, did allow me to finally catch up. But yeah, weird that it was a 10 to 15 minute period with nothing. And again, we didn't get any word on what exactly happened to the guy. I hope he's okay, but it was bizarre.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had a better answer, though, to that question. It's a good question, but yeah, we just did not hear anything after that.
Again, we'll get into more of what Mainieri had to say after the game, as well as a vibe check on baseball coming up in the second hour. But we're talking about football here. Of course, the Jacarius Peak injury, the biggest headline from over the weekend, but also it became official over the weekend as well that Matthew Smiley is indeed going to be South Carolina's next special teams coordinator. Of course, his last stint was with the Buffalo Bills in the NFL, had spent the past year with Penn State as an assistant, obviously relating to Stan Drayton and Deion Barnes for their hires there. And now he takes over Jody Camillus. Again, we went over it the other day. There are ups and downs from his tenure, especially with the Bills. But hopefully he comes in and can keep what's been a pretty good unit on track.
Yeah, I think the special teams could be a little bit better. I would say there was definitely a little bit of a drop-off from Pete Lembo to Joe D, which that's to be expected because Pete Lembo did such great things here at South Carolina in his time as the coordinator for 3 years. And Joe D did a good job. It's just I think special teams could be a little bit better. The kicking situation was always in flux, it felt like, and nothing spectacular there. Though William Joyce did okay. Mason Love had a pretty good year last year. Vakari Swain was great. But you take out what Vakari did, it's special teams wasn't amazing by any means. So I think there is a little bit of room to improve and get back to that Lembo type of level that they were so effective at. And maybe Matthew Smiley can be that guy. His special teams units with the Bills were great in 2022, and they were so-so in 23, and then you get to 24 where they weren't very good. So you kind of hope that special teams can be really good again at South Carolina, and we'll hear more from Smiley tomorrow when he speaks with the media at noon to kind of get a better idea of what he's going to bring to the table. But it's clear that Shane was looking for somebody that has some level of college experience, which he does, and he also has that NFL experience, too, of coaching that position for so many years, like a decade in the NFL with the Bills and the Jaguars. So I think it's, considering the circumstance that you had to hire a guy this late in the cycle, I think you did a pretty good job, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and hiring a guy from the NFL ranks from a special teams coordinator role is a lot different than, like, saying an OC that, again, we kind of talked about with Beamer and his, insistence on hiring guys with a lot of NFL backgrounds over the past handful of years. And I get it. The NFL has a different kickoff role now, so that's changed. But, like, I really don't see insane differences in how you look at special teams in the NFL compared to college. And again, Smiley spent basically the first half of his coaching career at the college ranks, was a head coach for a short period of time. So I don't think it's going to be any kind of like big transition to come back to the college game, even with some of the rules being a little bit different here than in the NFL.
I think he'll do fine. I think he has got a pretty good group to work with. He's got Upton Belfont at the kicker position, and then you got Max Kelly, who's coming back, Mason Love. You'll have a new long snapper. I think this is, and Vakari Swain's back too. And you have Nick Harbor, a freak athlete to work with. And I think for some time now, I think we've seen Nick catch the deep balls. But I think at some point before his college career is over, I think we do want to see him return a kick, house call someday. So hopefully Smiley can further work with a guy like Nick, help him improve in the special teams game as well as the rest of these guys, because I think this is a good group with a lot of potential to be really solid this upcoming season.
I will continue to say, if Nick Harbor ever returns a kickoff for a touchdown at Williams-Brice Stadium, I don't care what game it is, that might go down as one of the loudest moments we've ever heard, because that's something we've just kind of been waiting for, right? Like, just to see him run in a straight line faster than anybody else on the field. And we got some of those explosive plays this past year from a receiving standpoint. But, man, I want to see at least one kickoff return touchdown from him before he's gone here.
I mean, you were here when XL took back that kickoff in 22, I think it was, right?
I was not. I was not working here yet.
Okay.
I know. I saw it on TV,
yeah,
but I was not here.
Let me tell you, man, just think of that as the moment that could be for Nick, because that place just erupted when that happened for XL, and that was the year before he really exploded. So hopefully for Nick, we can see a similar situation like that as he gets ready for his senior year.
We certainly hope so. And again, tomorrow at noon, which we'll have for you here on the game, Coach Beamer will introduce Coach Smiley and take some questions as well. Hour number 2 on the way. The U.S. men win their first gold medal since 1980 in hockey, and we'll dive into everything that happened yesterday in Italy coming up next here on the game.
All right, as we close out the first hour here, I want to tell you guys about our good friends over at AAA Heating and Air. If you're a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system, AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling AAA for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you on over at AAA Heating and Air. They've got your back. They're offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check required. That's right. No need to worry about your credit score. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you'll be good to go. Take control of your comfort today by giving a call to AAA Heating and Air at 803-677-1500. And again, the number is 803-677-1500. Give them a call today and breathe easy again.
Welcome back in, Extra Point, hour number 2. Tyler Head and Jack Velcher with you here on your Monday on the game. Obviously, it was a loaded weekend on Gamecock sports front, but certainly from a national perspective as well, as the Olympics officially wrapped up yesterday over in Italy, and it was fun. We talked about it over the course of the past couple weeks. I think this is the most I've really locked in on the Winter Olympics. Watched a lot of events that I had no clue what I was watching, but they were a lot of fun, and obviously was a fun time there. NBC did a really good job with the coverage as always, but there was a moment that we were all hoping we were going to get to see, and it finally culminated yesterday, late morning here in America, when this happened in overtime.
Watch up behind the net, and it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes puts it around McCarr. United States with numbers. Walk across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 miracle, the United States takes the gold. Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington.
Jack Hughes makes himself an American hero with that shot there in overtime to elevate the United States over Canada in overtime to win, again, their first gold since 1980, 46 years, going back to the Miracle on Ice run there out at Lake Placid. And what a cool moment. This is something we're going to be talking about forever. Again, it's very rarefied air to see the men's hockey team do this. Obviously, the rivalry with Canada is something that continues to grow and grow. And what a fantastic sporting event we were treated to yesterday morning.
Only the third time that the United States has won a gold medal in hockey, at the men's hockey, that is, at the Winter Olympics. 1960, you had 1980 at Lake Placid, obviously, and then 46 years later to the day, the United States wins the 2026 Winter Olympics in men's hockey and wins a gold medal there. Just an absolutely great game yesterday. I think as much as Jack Hughes is going to be praised as the hero for the United States winning that game, you are not winning that game without Connor Hellebuyck having the game that he did. The game of his life at goaltender for the United States, saving 41 shots in 42 attempts. Tyler, some of the saves he was making yesterday were just absolutely insane. The save that will obviously go down forever is the one where Devon Toews has a clear shot at the net, and it looks like he's going to make it in, right? And then Hellebuyck just sticks his stick out, gets it on it, and makes the save. It's just, if that is not there, Canada might win this game. There were a lot of shots in this game where it's like Canada probably should have made them. The other one being Nathan MacKinnon later on in this game with a clear shot to the net. He just whiffs on it. And we'll get to him in a second and some of the things he and Canada had to say, because they have not taken the loss very well. But the U.S. does not win that game yesterday without Connor Hellebuyck. And even Jack Hughes noted that after the game. Like, he played an insane game yesterday and kept the U.S. in that one to send it to overtime.
Yeah, because you mentioned Canada, 42 shots on goal, and the one goal there compared to America only getting 28 shots with their 2 goals there. So it was definitely more of an attack from the standpoint of Canada there. But yeah, Hellebuyck did a phenomenal job there holding them at bay, and that's what makes hockey so cool. For one, a low-scoring game like this, especially as it goes into overtime, you're just riding on every shot, right? Because that could, especially as you get into overtime, that could be the one that ends up ending the game. And you had the situation early in the game where America had the double doink off the goal. You mentioned some of those shots where it looked like Canada had an easy path to get a score there that just didn't go in. And it just continues to build the anticipation and the drama. And then you get into overtime, the 3-on-3 thing, and really like the Hughes goal, it almost kind of took a second to realize that it went in, right?
Yeah, it didn't look like off. Like, I continue to watch it back, and I'm like, where's the puck on that shot? But it went in the back of the net, obviously. I just can't really see it. But it went in. It was a great play. It was right after it looked like Canada had a great shot with Connor McDavid going to the net, and then he misses it, and then they get the play set up there for Hughes. And I mean, he's going to go down forever in the history books with that shot. It'll be just as famous as when Mike Eruzione made that shot against the USSR in 1980. Maybe not the same significance, but still, to win a gold medal is really cool. And look, Hughes is a guy that was a former number one overall pick. He was like, it's tough to make a comparison to like for me, I kind of think of like not like Michael Jordan, but like what he like a guy like that, like LeBron, like a guy that is supposed to change the face of the franchise and the sport in general. That's what probably Jack Hughes was when he was drafted by the New Jersey Devils a handful of years ago. Now, he hasn't been amazing, but I think it's tough to live up to those expectations. But I'll tell you what, after the shot he made yesterday, whatever he does the rest of his career with the Devils, it will dwell in comparison to what that shot meant yesterday, because that was one that's going to go down forever, and everyone's going to remember, like, where were you when Jack Hughes made the game-winning shot against Canada to win a gold medal?
He will forever be an American hero. Like you said, it doesn't matter what he does for the rest of his NHL career, or if he never makes another Olympic hockey team, that shot will be immortalized forever in American sports culture, and it even adds more to it when you have the picture after the game, right? Because he gets his teeth knocked out, spits some chiclets in the middle of the game, and then you have this just phenomenal photo. Whoever took the photo deserves whatever the top prize is for photographers, because him draped with the American flag with a bloody mouth, missing a tooth and a half, just everything about it is perfect. That's going to be on the wall of every sports bar in America coming up here soon. If they sell a T-shirt with it, I want one. Because just wow, everything about that just encapsulated what this meant and how cool of a moment this was for U.S. men's hockey.
I know Barstool has already made a shirt with that, so if you wanted one, there you go. But that's going to be one that you see on every flag in a college dorm room for guys, and you're going to see it hanging up at sports bars. Like that is an iconic shot. And yeah, I mean, look, Hughes. I mean, he had he got clipped with the stick on that double minor that in regulation in the final period. I'm like, okay, that's going to give the United States like a 4-minute double minor penalty power play. The U.S. had to have won the game right there, right? And they didn't. They didn't. And then Canada gets a power play after that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the penalty was on. I'm pretty sure it was on Hughes at that point, maybe if I'm remembering correctly, but. I mean, yeah, like, seriously, there were so many moments in this game. How about the 5-on-3 earlier on in that game? Like, that might have been the turning point for U.S. to stay in that game against Canada, because once the Canadians had the 5-on-3 power play, I was just thinking, like, there's no way they're surviving this without giving up a goal. But they did. They did. So there were so many moments in this game that the U.S. came through. You had the Boldy goal early on in this game. You get the Hughes goal at the end of the game. You get Hellebuck having the game of his life. Like, just so many things went right for the U.S. But also, I can't help but feel like this is a game that Canada, a really talented team, let slip away, because they missed some pivotal shots in this game.
And Nate McKinnon from Canada kind of said as much after the game, that he thought that they were the better team. And you know what? That might be true. And they did have more shots on goal, so they were attacking better from an offensive standpoint. But that's the great thing about sports, is sometimes the better team doesn't win. Sometimes the situation plays out and America gets two goals in the net. Canada gets one, and guess what? America's walking away with the gold medal. And I guess I can understand McKinnon trying to, deal with the emotions in the moment there, but yeah, maybe you were the better team, but you still lost, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
It's the same thing that happened in '80 when the USSR lost to the United States in that semifinal round of the Olympics at Lake Placid. I mean, we got to remember, the USSR demolished the United States at MSG.
Because they had pros, didn't they?
Yeah, they had pros. They had beaten the NHL All-Stars during their exhibition tour. So they had just beaten the United States like 10-3 right before going to Lake Placid, I think like 3 days before. And then a few days later, the United States pulls off the miracle on ice, beating them in the Olympics. So, I mean, look, it's kind of like that to some extent, of like Canada's this really good team, but the U.S. is really, really good too. And, I mean, look, Canada's super talented, let that game slip away, but the United States took advantage and made some really big shots down the stretch. So, I mean, good game for the United States to win this one.
And I thought it was really awesome. And they've been doing it the entire time, honoring Johnny Gaudreau. They had his, jersey there, with them on the sideline. And then after the game, they're skating around with it. They go get his kids
for the
after
team
the game
photo.
for the team photo. And just
so cool.
All the emotions. That just really, I mean, everything else going on was really awesome. But that was just kind of icing on the cake for them to do that. And again, I don't know if he would have been a part of that team or not if he was still
he would have
alive,
been a
but
part of that team.
And there's a brotherhood with hockey, right? That we don't quite see in other sports. That it's cool that he wasn't forgotten. He was still a part of that moment. His family was there, his parents, his wife, obviously his kids, and that they got to have a special moment included in all this too.
Yeah, and the other underrated factor of all this that may have, I think there was a question yesterday to the Hughes brothers and Austin Matthews after the game, like staying in the Olympic Village and what that kind of did to help them. And they're with each other for 2 weeks, just living all together. It's kind of like college or going on a road trip together. You're just all there in the same space. And I got to feel like that chemistry really blossomed over those 2 weeks because, again, they're just getting together, flying out to Milan, playing in these games together. And I don't want to say that's why they won. It's definitely not, because pure talent and the skills that these guys have is just incredible. But you can't help but feel like that camaraderie those guys had of being together in the Olympic Village for 2 weeks and just seeing how much fun they were having. Like that I think that's ultimately what helped the 80 team win. And it certainly probably played a part in why this 26 team was able to get the job done and win Olympic gold. I mean, just an incredible run that they went on here. And it really is going to be, like I said during the first hour, like you and I were not alive, obviously, for 1980. But this is our miracle on ice in a way. It's not miracle, but it's like this is our team that we're going to remember for 40 years from now. It's going to be really special.
And we're not even 24 hours removed from this game ending yesterday, so we're still caught up in the emotion and the moment of it being so fresh. But I am interested to see how we do talk about this when we talk about the greatest sports moments of our lifetimes or of the 2020s. Like how does this get remembered, and how do we talk about this team 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line? Because yesterday was certainly special. Again, there were a lot of other circumstances that played into what made the Miracle on Ice special, but this one was equally as cool, for somebody that never got to see the Miracle, to witness it myself with my own eyes. And, this is a great rivalry, too, between the United States and Canada. And I'm assuming the NHL is going to do Four Nations again next year.
Please do it.
You're hoping you get another rematch between U.S. and Canada that helps bridge the gap between the next Olympics coming up in 2030.
Forget the NHL All-Star game.
The All-Star game should be dead. That should just kill it now.
Kill it.
Four Nations was amazing. It sets the table for your next Olympics in a couple years. Keep doing that, please.
I just saw the back page of the New York Post. It says, "The best in town, Heaven on Ice, Miracle 2, USA 2, Canada 1." I think Heaven on Ice is a good name for these guys because, man, that was such a cool moment yesterday and a huge game for the United States.
Should Jack Hughes get his teeth fixed, or should he leave it as a symbol of what happened there?
He's my age, so I mean, I don't know. He is also dating Tate McRae, so it's like, I think Tate's probably going to want him to have his teeth cleaned up, and I'm sure he will as well.
Talk about a guy that's got a lot of good things going on for him right now.
I'll tell you, man, that photo is going to be everywhere moving forward.
Phenomenal stuff there. So proud of United States men's hockey and women's as well for winning the gold medal back there on Thursday, and fun Olympics overall. Really enjoyed it. We'll continue to talk about this throughout the day. Big weekend for basketball as well. First time in a while we could say both teams won. We'll get into that on the other side. It is the Extra Point, Tyler Head and Jack Beltry on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head, Jack Veltri with you here on your Monday on the Game, recapping a crazy busy weekend from a sports standpoint, both nationally and locally. And about the time the U.S. hockey was wrapping up yesterday, gold medals were handed out, national anthem was played. Around 11:30 or so, you probably flip back over to ESPN to get ready for a huge game here in Columbia as South Carolina welcomed in number 17 Ole Miss. College Game Day was there. Big deal, right? And then South Carolina women do exactly what they always do, and they completely obliterate their opponent, no matter what they're ranked, no matter how good they are, 85-48 to clinch their fifth straight SEC regular season title, 10th overall since Dawn Staley has been here. And we look at that and we're like, yeah, we're not surprised. That's just what they do.
Yeah, I mean, bring on the SEC tournament. That'll be the next challenge here. And the Gamecocks will be the number 1 seed in Greenville here in a few, it'll be coming up next week. So, I mean, that'll be a, good tournament for South Carolina to get ready for March Madness after that. But, yeah, not a surprise. I mean, this is what they're supposed to do. This game wasn't close after the first quarter, and just absolute domination by the Gamecocks.
And Dawn Staley was asked after the game, could she have ever seen so much success coming when she took the job all those many years ago?
No. I don't even think the SEC was part of the process of when I think I probably skipped a few steps in the regular season and the SEC tournament to winning national championships, right? But I do think this has been the training ground to success outside of the SEC. So no, because it's really super competitive that you don't want to put the cart before the horse. You just want to win the next game. And winning 5 SEC regular season championships consecutively, to me, is unheard of. It's almost like an out-of-body experience because you never, I wouldn't say I imagine us losing 5 consecutive either, but it's just, I give the credit to our players for believing in it, for playing probably a style of play that, may sometimes you sacrifice some of your individual success for the overall team, but we try to balance that. We try to, allow that to coexist. But we also know when we won championships, the players that are supposed to get to the next level, get to the next level. Because ultimately people want winners.
And, it's been talked about before, and this is a program that wasn't devoid of success. They had success with Nancy Wilson back in the late 80s and early 90s, but famously when Dawn took over, nobody was going to these games. They could barely get 100 people to show up, it seemed like. And to go from that, and it took a while to build, obviously, to being quite literally the powerhouse, the perennial powerhouse of women's basketball in college is insane. And again, we look at these accomplishments now almost with a yawn, right? Yeah, all right, fine. You want another SEC regular season title. You'll probably win the tournament in a couple weeks. Yeah, talk to us when you get to the Final Four. But, when you kind of take the 10,000-foot view, it's it's incredible to have a team that's in a position that is so good that the expectation is, yeah, of course they're going to win the SEC. They'll probably win the tournament too. And we just expect, go ahead and book your tickets to wherever the Final Four is going to be, coming up in April.
Yeah, I mean, this is the expectation, right? It will not be shocking at all. At this point, honestly, forget the Final Four. I think they're good enough to win the national championship at this point. I don't really see maybe a UConn, one of those teams, but South Carolina, the only way South Carolina doesn't win the national championship, in my opinion, is if they beat themselves, right? If they don't play up to their standard, it'll be tough for them to win. But I think they are just on fire right now. Ever since that Oklahoma loss a few weeks ago, they've just played a completely different beast out there and just have shown no signs of slowing down.
And I think one element of that is when you see certain players continue to get better as the season goes along, and I look no further than somebody like Medina Okad, who's on an incredible double-double run as of right now, having those in now 5 straight games. She went out there, made 3 3-pointers yesterday, all 3 of the ones that she attempted. So she's getting more well-rounded and more versatile as this season continues to go along. It's incredible to watch because you're obviously out there paired with Raven Johnson, doing what she does. Tessa Johnson, who had another off game yesterday, but Joyce Edwards goes out there, has another 21-point performance tonight. Latson, a really solid game. So, you add in what we already know are the good players, and you continue to see somebody like an Okot continue to come along and get better and better and better, then, yeah, this team's going to be hard to beat from anybody, UConn, whoever you pair them up against once you get into March here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so 2 more games left to go in the regular season here. You get Missouri coming up, and then after that, South Carolina closes out the year at Kentucky, and then next Friday will be the SEC tournament out in Greenville. So we'll see. I mean, they'll obviously be the favorites to win that tournament, and then heading into March, got a good chance to win another title here.
Well, as I mentioned, for the first time in a while, we've been able to say that both men's and women's basketball won over the weekend, and Lamont Paris talked about how good it felt to finally win for the first time in over a month.
I'd be lying if I didn't say it felt good to be on the other side of the win and loss situation. So I'm really happy for our guys. They played well. We've been playing better. I've been saying this in these last couple of games. You're on the road at the top 2 teams in standings, and I thought we did some really good things in those games. At Alabama, at Florida, I think was one of our best defensive halves in terms of our first shot defense. So we've been doing some things well, and then for it all to come together on a day that she also shot the ball well, I thought that was it was really good for the guys just to enjoy that feeling, and the rest of the season is the shortest part of the season, but it's the most important part of the season for us. So we'll approach every game like that, and try to build on some of the things that have been brewing for a little bit. This is the first one that has culminated in a win in a little while, and so, but continuing to build on some of the things that we've really been working on.
Technically speaking, they have won more games in conference play this year than they have last year. It's only 1 right now, and their opportunity to win their final 4 games a lot lower. We've talked about this for a while. This doesn't change anything. It does change the conversation and basically kind of waiting to see what Jeremiah Donati's going to do. But if you went to the game on Saturday, or if you're one of the players, you can feel good in the fact that they finally won something. And that's kind of where I'm at with this.
I think the good thing is that they're still competing, still playing hard. They've had some real ugly losses this year, but you really can't question. At times, I think we have questioned the fight and the willingness to play on the rest of this year with how bad things have been, for sure. But games like this kind of reaffirm that, yeah, they're still playing hard and trying to win games. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Kentucky hasn't been playing great lately. You go to Georgia, who knows what can happen there. Tennessee at home, I'll always have a chance there. And then, I didn't realize Ole Miss has been pretty awful this year. So there's a chance here to catch some fire heading into the SEC tournament. And at the very least, I think they got a good chance to improve their standing heading into the tournament. I think right now they're probably looked at as the 13 seed. Just because they have a tiebreaker over Oklahoma and they're ahead of some of these other teams. So a good chance to really build a little bit of momentum heading into the tournament here, and maybe at the same time saving Paris's job along the way with a few more wins here. And it's not going to be saving the year in general, but it makes things look a little bit better than they currently are.
By the way, they are pretty good under Paris against Kentucky at home.
They are.
Take that for what it's worth.
They are. So we'll see. I mean, they definitely need a win tomorrow night, and that would be a nice feather in the cap after what's been a really rough year for the most part.
That game tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, pregame coverage starting at 6:30 right here on 107.5 The Game. And we'll see if they can put together 2 wins in a row, something they have not done since 2025 when they beat South Carolina State and Albany at the end of last calendar year. And we'll see if they can build off the momentum from Saturday against Mississippi State. We'll jump back into baseball on the other side. Vibe check time. Where are you at with this team? We've seen 8 games so far. The most important series to date against Clemson coming up next. where you at? What's your feel? What's your vibe on this team? I'm interested to know. Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line at 803-404-6100. We'll dive into that and what Paul Mainieri had to say about the weekend coming up next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry here on The Game. Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Getting to baseball discussion here in just a second. But first, it's time for Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. And so we were just talking basketball. In that last segment, there's a lot of reasons for not having a team practice. Maybe, weather, injuries. You ever heard of somebody canceling a practice because the team's just too down on themselves, Jack?
No, did not hear that, but it sounds like a team in this state did.
Brad Bronwell over the weekend after Clemson lost its fourth straight game in men's basketball, this time to Florida State, mentioned they didn't practice on Thursday because the guys were just too down on themselves, said that they were just, the energy wasn't good, and they want to take a day off to kind of refresh. Now, he did mention they came back on Friday more energized and stuff like that, so I think more of this has been made than what it should be. I understand where he was coming from there, but definitely the one of the first instances I've heard a coach at least publicly say about a practice being canceled for being sad and down.
All right, here's the real debate. What is worse? South Carolina Pulmonary saying that the team was tired and sore after 3 games, or Brad Bronwell canceling practice because the team was sad? What's worse?
I don't know, man. That being tired after 2 games, that wasn't good.
But canceling practice because you're sad during the middle of the season is honestly, I think it's probably worse considering Clemson's good at basketball.
Well, we haven't gotten to take a lot of digs at Clemson lately, so I didn't want to miss an opportunity to do that. And we'll talk about Clemson baseball more as the week goes along, as they're off to a really good start this year, and obviously you're going to be encountering the Gamecocks this upcoming weekend. But speaking of baseball, you did win 2 out of 3 games this past weekend, and Coach Mainieri did talk about after the game what this weekend meant for his team.
Well, I think, we grow every day, Jack, and I told these kids, look, I told our players, these kids from these other teams, they are not afraid of us. They're not afraid of anybody. And if you look at Kaz's schedule that he puts together, they go play everybody. I don't know. Midweek, weekend, they play the top teams in the country, so they're going to play fearless. And it's the way they're brought up. I mentioned Army had, I think, 7 seniors in their starting lineup. So those kids have been through the grind of 3.5+ years of a military academy. They're not going to be afraid of in a baseball game. For them, these are the fields of friendly strife. So our players were ready for the challenge, and I think that was good for our team. There'll be more talented teams on our schedule for sure, but nobody will ever play harder or compete harder than these kids do. So that's good for our team to kind of have to battle for it. And I thought for the most part, the Army game was terrible, but these last 2 games, I thought there were a lot of good things. I'm not concerned that we didn't get a ton of runs and a ton of hits tonight, because I really do believe that their relief pitching was really good. See, they were supposed to play College of Charleston tomorrow, but that game was canceled, and so they were able to use everybody out of their bullpen today that they probably were going to save for tomorrow for a 4th game. So that made it a little more challenging for us. So I think we grew. We'll see how much by the end of next weekend.
And again, 8 games in, you faced a little better competition this past weekend than what you've seen in the prior 5 games. So we don't have a full scope of everything that we know about this team. We'll learn a lot more this weekend against Clemson, but there are plenty of things to be optimistic about. I think for the most part, your pitching's been good outside of what happened on Friday with Riley Goodman and Josh Gunther there. And again, we'll see if they move around the starting lineup and maybe have Ant Phillips starting on Friday night. You got a bunch of guys at the plate like Craddock, like Lee. Croy Sutter had a solid weekend after starting off really rough last weekend to be excited about. It's just the again, situational hitting as talked about with runners on and scoring position. It's going to be a storyline throughout the entire year. Again, you're not completely sold on this team, but I don't think you're completely writing them off either. I think a lot of people kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, a lot of people's opinions right now, and I know we have the text line, but on Gamecock Central last night, I did put a similar type of post, like, how are you feeling about this team through 2 weekends of baseball so far? And a lot of them are like, wait and see right now. A lot of them really don't think South Carolina's going to do much this weekend against Clemson. I beg to differ. I think this could be. There is potential. I see a lot of different scenarios. I see South Carolina potentially winning this series. I see South Carolina losing this series. I see them getting swept. There's a lot of different avenues you can go here, but a lot is certainly riding on this weekend in terms of the team and what they could potentially do this year, as well as the fan base, because I think a lot of them are kind of waiting to see if this team is going to be really good this year or not, and a lot of it does come down to this weekend coming up.
Yeah, so obviously a big series this upcoming weekend, and I asked a similar question on Twitter yesterday of where your vibes are at this point getting set for the Clemson series. Some of the answers I got, Albert said not that good. We'll do good to take 1 of 3. Morgan says not very good. I think we'll take 1 of 3, but I hope I'm wrong and win the series. Ray says not great. Steven says a little uneasy, and David, being blunt, just says they suck. So
yeah, okay.
It's not overly optimistic at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't think they suck. I think a lot of people still have this thought that it's last year still, because it's not. This is a completely different team. And look, not everyone's gotten out to the ballpark this year to see what this team looks like, and some of them just watched on TV. So we'll see. It's up to the guys in the field, the 9 guys out there starting and hitting, to prove people wrong, have a good weekend, and I would be very interested to see how the mindset of this fan base changes if they actually do play well this weekend. And even, here's the other scenario. What if it's kind of they win one of the games, maybe they drop the other 2, but it's like, man, they look really good in those games, super competitive. It's just you're going against the top 15 team, and you lose by a run in both those games. It's kind of similar. It would be similar to what happened 2 years ago in 24, where you lose a pair of 1-run games. And look, the season wasn't over at that point. And the season's not over if South Carolina doesn't win the series this weekend. You still have all of SEC play. But I think from a fan base perspective, a lot of folks that aren't checked out yet probably would be after that weekend. So we'll see. There's a ton riding on this weekend for South Carolina, more so than Clemson, I would say.
By the way, Coach Maneri, as all the baseball coaches have done, will join Jay and Terry in the afternoons on Monday following the weekend series. That'll start today at 3:30 if you want to give his thoughts on what he saw this past week. And obviously they'll start to look ahead to Clemson as well. And I've referenced it so many times how much what he said about the series last year did not sit well with fans. Like, yeah, we lost, but there's more important games to come. Like, no, bud. These games are pretty darn important. You're going to have the game here on Friday, Segra on Saturday, which, by the way, we'll be out doing a pregame show from 1 until 2:30. So come by and see us if you're going to the game, and then heading back up to Doug Kinsmore to wrap up the weekend there at Clemson. So you have the opportunity at home and basically kind of at home over at Segra Park to hopefully get the weekend off to a good start. Again, game number 3 going on the road. Clemson's going to be tough, but if you can find a way to win those first 2 games, then obviously the fan base will be pleased no matter what happens in game 3.
You have to win Friday. You have got to win Friday to have a chance in this series, to get off to a good start. And that's honestly why I think Amp Phillips needs to be starting Friday night. I hope that is the direction Paul Maneri is going to go here. Is, look, Riley Goodman is going to be great, but he's not ready, I don't think, for that spotlight. And knowing how much pressure is going to be on Carolina to win that first game, I think you've got to start Amp, and that gives you the best chance to win. And honestly, I like the lineup right now, the way most of these guys are hitting. If Sutter weren't hitting right now, I'd be a little bit more concerned. Some of these other guys, but I think they've got the formula to win this weekend. The pitchings look good, offenses looked all right. I think they can really potentially do some good things this weekend, but time will tell.
Yeah. So again, we'll continue to preview that as the week goes along. They're back in action Wednesday, taking on Queens at 6:30. Pregame coverage starting at 6:15 right here on 107.5 The Game. And then again this weekend, Friday night here in Columbia, Saturday at Segra Park, and then Sunday up in the upstate there at Clemson, and what's going to be a very huge series for your number 2 under Paul Maneri. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the hour. How did our weekend headline predictions go? We'll tell you about that next as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head and Jack Feltry here on The Game. right, welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Veltri wrapping up hour number 2 here on your Monday on the Game. Another reminder, the 107.5 Game Spring Golf Classic returns Friday, April 3rd. We're going to be hanging out at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia. We'll have Saki's Morning Libations Bar, as well as onion sausages provided by the Lexington County Gamecock Club. And yes, indeed, the golf gun will make its return. If you want to hang out with us and be a part of it, it's $400 for a team. Give Charwood a call at 803-755-2000 and press the number 2 to sign up. Again, that's the 107.5 Game Spring Golf Classic. Call Charwood at 803-755-2000. Press the number 2 to register and hang out with us coming up on April 3rd. On Fridays, we give our headline predictions for the weekend of what we're going to be talking about coming in here on Monday morning. I'll go ahead and admit mine was that Carolina would win all 3 games. That went out the window pretty quickly. The Army game was very ugly. I unfortunately thought it was going to set the tone for the weekend. Thankfully, games 2 and 3 went better. Let's hope. I really hope we're not talking about this being a team that just has one god-awful game every weekend, because we've seen that. It was Game 3 against Kentucky, Game 1 against Army. I hope that's not a trend.
I would hope that's not the case either. That is something, if I am concerned about anything, it is that. And look, you want to win. Here's the thing. If they play like that moving forward, like if they win series every weekend, like they're going to be fine. But you're going to be playing better teams as the year goes along, and that starts this weekend. So you're hoping you can kind of not have to deal with getting a bad game out of the way. Like just play well the entire weekend, start to finish, and that'll serve you very well. But we'll see.
Well, and especially Friday games. Again, we're talking about the importance of maybe having somebody like Ant Phillips start on Friday, because when you're in that 1-0 lead to start the series, you're in such a better position than having to dig yourself out of that 0-1 hole, find a way to win Saturday, and then find a way to win the last game of the series on Sunday. You have a little bit more, slack to work with.
Cushion, yes.
When you can win that game number 1 on Friday night. And again, that was my concern levels. I'm like, hey, man, you're looking like this in the first game of a weekend. What does that mean for the rest of the weekend? Thankfully, it didn't carry over to the other 2 games too much. You were still able to find a way to win. But again, you're going to continue to step up your competition level, including with Clemson this upcoming weekend, where if you play like that again, it's going to be a lot worse.
So I know we both had the United States winning gold. So that was
kind of a given.
That was a given. So we picked other things as a result of that, because that would have been too basic. For mine, I went back down the golf route, and seeing the way Scottie Scheffler, who's the best golfer in the world right now, has played in these first rounds of these tournaments has been kind of concerning, to be honest. And he got off to a really slow start this past weekend at the Genesis Invitational out in California. He was tied for last at one point on Thursday heading into Friday. And then my prediction was that he was going to ultimately finish top 5, because we've seen this over the last few weeks where he won the American Express to begin the year. And then Phoenix Open, he finishes tied for 3rd after shooting 73 on Thursday. And then at Pebble Beach, he shoots 72 on Thursday, but he finishes tied for 4th. So this guy just gets better as the weekend goes along. And he got off to his worst start in any first round, shooting 74 on Thursday/Friday, because Thursday there was a little bit of weather, and so they had to finish it up on Friday at Genesis. He finishes tied for 12th. So I wasn't right in my prediction, but I think I was correct in the fact that he did play a lot better as the weekend went along. Like, he shot 68 on Friday. He shot 66 and made the cut, by the way. Shot 66 on Saturday, and then 65 on Sunday. So he finished tied for 12th. But the thing is, his consecutive top 10 streak comes to an end after 18 straight events. So this guy is the definition of consistency. The thing he's got to figure out, though, and it's probably cost him a chance to even win this weekend, is playing well on Thursdays. I don't know, for whatever reason, it's been a slow start to the season for him and playing well on those first days.
Yeah, looking at the scores from over the weekend, again, that 74 on Thursday, but he was in the top 20 in round 2 on Saturday. He was top 5. He had 5th best score, round 2 on Friday, had the 5th best score overall on Saturday, and then tied for 3rd best on Sunday with Colin Morikawa shooting that 65. So yeah, if you just play an average round on Thursday, you're probably knocking on the door of that top 5 a little bit more. I don't know. What would you contribute as the reason why he's struggling out of the gate like that?
It's tough to tell because it's just like, and there's definitely some shots that like he's normally making and getting good breaks on. Like that's a lot of things. Like he was missing a lot of putts. I think it was at Pebble Beach. I'm just like, really? He's missing that putt? But golf is such a hard sport to play. Like sometimes you get a bad bounce off a shot that you think is good and it lands like in the water or in the rough. Like that's ultimately, I think, what is really hurting him in those early rounds. But then you get settled in, you play the course and those next 3 days and you play a lot better. But a guy like him, he's going to be fine. Like he's the number one golfer in the world. He'll be fine. He's still very young. He's only 29. It's not like he's, out of his prime or anything. Like he's still a very good golfer. It's just he's got to figure out Thursday. But good tournament, though, for Jacob Bridgman, a Clemson alum. So I know a lot of Gamecocks here won't like to hear that he won the Genesis Invitational by a stroke this weekend. And good tournament for him there. I was watching a lot yesterday during baseball. How about Rory, though? Rory's off to a nice start through 2 tournaments so far. He finished tied for second yesterday at minus 17. So good weekend of golf, and hopefully Scotty can pick it up a little bit. But Rory playing some good golf right now too.
Yeah, it's been a fun start to the golf season, and I don't know why. I just feel like I've been more invested in it this time around than it usually kind of as you get into the Masters, that's where I start paying more attention to golf. But I pay a lot more attention through the first couple tournaments so far this year, and it's been fun so far, and hopefully that bodes well throughout the entire year.
This is a nice little buffer between football ending and then baseball picking up with the MLB getting spring training going. Like golf, golf is a lot of fun to watch. Like I know a lot of people say it's boring, but it is very entertaining, especially when guys like Scotty are playing really well. We'll see if Tiger can get back for the Masters. That would be really cool. Rory, like golf has enough faces of the sport to make it entertaining to watch week in and week out. And these tournaments out in California, just seeing the nice weather and seeing what we have here today in South Carolina, man, that stupid groundhog, man. Puxatawny Phil.
He was right for a couple days. We had some decent weather there.
We did. I mean, it was like 80 degrees on Friday, man, and it was like 40 last night. I was shivering last night at baseball. It was freezing.
I saw you had your toboggan on.
I did.
So post-game recap.
Maybe that's why they won.
By the way, this upcoming weekend looking really good weather-wise. Hopefully it stays that way and we can truly kind of get into spring. But for today, at least, bundle up.
Yeah. So good show today, man.
Yep.
Lots to talk about. Good stuff.
Oh yeah, plenty to talk about. We got more to discuss tomorrow. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs coming up next on your Monday here on the Game. 11 o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler, West, and Chris. Along with here, oh boy, we've got a lot to get you over the course of the next hour. How are we doing today, guys?
How are you doing today?
Doing good.
Are you refreshed?
I knew y'all were going to talk about it.
We were sitting here talking about it before.
Tyler's
I
not
have a
wearing a
haircut.
hat.
I'm
He
not
got a
wearing a hat.
haircut. Went a little tight there, buddy. Went a little buzz.
Got your ears lowered. That's what my dad used to say.
Listen, I have hair with cowlicks and all that kind of stuff, so it can be more complicated than other people's hair. I don't know if you guys run into this problem, but every time I go get a haircut and I try and relay to them what I want, it never turns out the way that I want.
Really?
They're like, okay, we saved your notes and all this kind of stuff, and they do it again. It doesn't look the same, and after a week or two, when it grows in a little bit more, I just end up with a mess more often than not. So I was like, you know what? Let's just bite the bullet. Let's buzz it. It'll stay short for a while. It'll all grow in evenly after that, and I'll deal with it later on. But, yeah, it was nice not having to wake up and worry about combing my hair this morning. I'll say that much.
I didn't know if you had placed a bet on one of the events this weekend.
No, I have not.
USA, Canada.
I've never.
Or it was like a celebration, like I'll shave my head if the U.S. wins.
I've never put hair on the line in a bet before.
Me neither.
So, how about you, Wes?
I have shaved my head before. I did. This was like 10, 15 years ago. I did the St. Baldrick's thing where you like.
I did that once. It wasn't a bet, but to do the benefit.
Yeah, benefit.
Yeah. I mean, I like shaved it all the way to the.
I did a buzz cut in college.
To the skin.
Yeah.
Like pretty. It wasn't to the skin. It was pretty. Which for me that was a big deal because I always have
Sure.
a lot of hair. Like our guy Kev Roche. Shout out Kev. He's probably listening, or he'll listen later on the podcast. He told me he hasn't seen my forehead since he's known me.
You know, come to think of it, I don't think I have either.
Yeah,
I always got it. Just
they're
kinda,
always like, when I get a haircut, they're like, what do you do with it? Do you put it, do you want any product? I'm like, do I look like I wear product? And they're like, do you want me to comb it to the side? I'm like, no.
you just
Like,
got you've got that
goes.
nice messiness to your hair where it works.
Thank you.
I can't pull that off.
I appreciate
Well,
it.
Tyler, I was just thinking too, though, Chris. Don't you think Tyler sounded like refreshed and just?
Yeah.
I mean, he nailed the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Sub. Tyler West and Chris. Like
Monday.
there was no hesitation. There was no, what show is this? What day is this? What
Well,
people is this?
I
Like,
did say Gamecock Central Hour at like 9:45.
Okay.
So I got my mistake out of the way early. So I was good. I was good for when you guys came in.
Did y'all watch? I mean, we should probably bring up the USA Canada game. It was epic.
Yeah. Guys, I have
Uh-oh.
no. For the final segment, I have a confession. So
Oh.
just save that for the end.
All right, that's a great teaser.
But yeah,
Wes
go
is confessing something at 11:45.
I was watching with the kids, and they were aware. They were watching. They were aware I was watching, and I
Yeah.
still scared them with my. They were like, "Dad," my reaction.
What
when
was
the
your
Jack Hughes
reaction?
Goal. Oh, I just
You're
yelled.
like, did you go through the
jumped up.
ceiling?
Yeah, I think my head hit the ceiling. Low ceiling.
The funny thing about the goal is like it took a second to realize that it went in.
Jack Hughes said he wasn't sure if it went in.
Yeah, and then like there was kind of like a delay. Like, oh no, it's in. They win. Oh my God, gold medal. Like it took about 3 seconds to process.
That was awesome. And guys, the Canada reaction to this. Holy cow.
Those sore losers.
3-on-3 is not real hockey. Y'all didn't complain about it when you win in that aspect.
Yeah.
You had McKinnon, great player. We were the better team. I hate when people do that.
Hey, win the game in regulation, and it wouldn't have gone to 3-on-3.
You be the judge of who was the better team. Like, well,
Don't miss your wide open shots.
let me look. Bup, bup, bup. I'll check the score. Oh, looks like U.S. was the better team.
Say,
They won.
Your math ain't math in there, bud.
He missed a wide open shot. He also didn't secure the puck
Yeah.
for the pass that went to Jack Hughes and then scored the goal. Connor Hellenbach had like 800 saves.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was awesome.
that's the beautiful thing about sports is, yeah, maybe Canada was a better team, but did that matter
Not today.
yesterday? No, because America won. They got the gold medals. Got to play the national anthem. I don't know what that little stuffed animal thing was that they were handing out, but it was really funny to see these Canadians that were distraught being handed silver medals and then a stuffed animal too.
They looked like they were gonna like rip the heads off the stuff down.
Connor McDavid like looked at it and then he
it was
just
like,
shook
you
his
gotta
head.
be kidding me. It's like
Who came up with that idea? Like,
don't
can
know.
you imagine all the IOCs in like a boardroom and somebody's like, guys, I raise their hand. I got one. Let's give the second and third place teams a stuffy.
Guys, I don't know anything about hockey, but that save was insane. Like the one, and have y'all seen the photo? I'm sure you have floating around
Yeah, the overhead.
of just the absolute perfect frame. Like how you, the hand-eye coordination of doing that. Like, you know, there's that saying, there's that thought that the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit a baseball, but a stick save like has got to be up there with, like, you're talking about a very similar thing, I think, and to not just deflect it, but to create the save there. Again, I know nothing about hockey, but I do appreciate insane feats of athleticism and skill, and that was pretty impressive.
It is, if we were to rank, and maybe this is something we can do once we get in the summer and things are a whole lot slower, like, where does hockey rank on hardest positions to play in all of sports? It's got to be
Hardest sports?
yeah, like in all of sports, like playing goalie in hockey. That's got to be towards the top of the list.
Well, I think anything in hockey, dude. Like, you have to add the. How many other sports? I'm trying to think. All right, basketball, you're on a court. Football, you're on a field. Baseball, you're on a field. How many other sports do you have to learn one sport just to be able to even start playing that sport? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to learn to skate.
Yeah.
There's a barrier of entry here. Here.
Like, you already know how to walk and run. Like, there's
Yes,
some
hopefully.
technical aspects you got to run this way. In track, you got to run this way.
Sure.
Football, like,
They don't have to teach you how to
have to have the vision. Yeah,
how
skating.
to walk.
Like, if it was nothing, if they had no puck, no stick, and it was just out there, like, skating, like, that would
Just
be,
hitting
like,
each
hard
other.
enough. Hitting and skating each other.
It's like if basketball had to be played walking on your hands. Like, okay, I got to learn how to walk on my hands and then learn how to play basketball.
No, I think the level of difficulty. I mean, you watch all those Olympic sports, and you can pick out a lot of, any of them. Some I think I could argue harder than others, but like all of them are. I mean, the people doing cross country skiing and they're running uphill in skis. I'm like, I would fall out if I tried that.
There's they were like shooting too. What event was that where they were shooting and then doing the cross country skiing?
I can't remember the name of it.
That was one of the more interesting ones that I watched these past couple of weeks. I didn't know that was a thing, but
yeah,
cool.
Like somebody's just like sitting around having a drink, and they're like, you know what? Let's have them stop in the middle and just start shooting things.
Sounds great. Somebody in the Midwest probably came up with that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Robin Williams had his Broadway special where he's talking about all the difference, but like, who came up with golf? What, like, I'm gonna put a ball in a gopher hole.
300 yards
are you
away.
gonna swing it with like a baseball? But no, like a real crooked stick, And Robin Williams had a great, like, he did that special, like, I think it was like after Canada had won a gold medal in hockey, and he's like, it's your only sport.
Yeah.
He said Canada's like a loft apartment over a really great party. Sorry,
Good way to look at it.
Canadians out there.
But like, for real, like the crashing out of Canada, the players, the fan reactions, you find videos of watch parties and stuff like that. Now they act like this is the one thing they're not supposed to lose.
No.
Right? They won in Four Nations a year ago. They've beaten America and the Olympics multiple times, including the overtime. I think the last time NHL players were allowed back in 2010. So yeah, this one goes a long way. And what a great, one of the best sports photos I think we'll ever see of Jack Hughes after the game, missing teeth, flags draped over his shoulder, blood coming out of his mouth. That's an all-timer right there.
Yeah. It was absolutely epic. Anyway, I didn't mean to get us off. What we'll reserve rest of the Wes has.
Yes.
It looks like a hockey related.
Can't say.
We'll see.
Can't
Last
say.
segment, you gotta stay
Olympics
tuned in.
related.
Yeah, can't say.
Yeah, he's
have
gonna
to wait and see.
Okay.
He's
Call
gonna
it
be
tease, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be confessing something, so stay tuned until 11:45 as Wes makes some kind of confession at that point in the show. But we have a lot of Gamecock stuff to get into over the weekend. A lot of things happening on and off the court/field, and we'll get into that on the other side, starting with unfortunate injury news when it comes to Gamecock football. That's coming up next. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Monday on the Game. Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West Chris along with you here on your Monday on the game. Again, a lot of things happening on the court / on the field for Gamecock sports over the weekend, but perhaps the biggest headline didn't have anything to do with the organized events for Gamecock sports, and I can sympathize with this fan base in a lot of ways because there have been plenty of bad things that have happened over the history of Gamecock sports, and obviously for men's sports, the past year certainly has not been anything to write home about, but there are some headlines that just make you want to bang your head against a wall. And when you see that Jacarius Peak, the most coveted transfer portal addition South Carolina had going in to fill a much-needed hole where they've been struggling at left tackle this past year, gets hurt. Now, again, all the details of what exactly happened aren't finalized, and we don't know the full extent of the injury. We just know Jacarius Peak has been injured. He's going to miss spring practice. They anticipate, according to the statement from Beamer, he'll be back for the season, but there's still a million questions we have about this. And of all the guys you didn't want to see hurt, obviously Selge is up there, Stewart is up there, but Jacarius Peak, one of the very few on that short list that you didn't want to hear any injury news about throughout this offseason, and we haven't even gotten to spring practice yet.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what has happened in men's sports as of late, I mean, I like how you put it, Tyler. You can sympathize with everybody. Like, this is not the news you wanted to get, a few weeks before spring practice even begins. Like, injuries are a part of it. Anytime you're talking about athletes and even, off season and training and all that stuff, like, things are going to happen. You're just holding your breath and crossing your fingers and toes that it doesn't happen, and that it doesn't happen to key players. You can't downplay the fact that Peak was one of the biggest additions to this team. He absolutely was. Now, I think right now you just have to maybe keep your head up about it, like try to maintain some positive mindset in that there is still an expectation internally that he's going to play this year. We had reported that on Saturday. Obviously, there are still details to this that have not come out in terms of severity, in terms of exactly what it is, other than it being a knee, and some of that stuff may never actually come out, but certainly feel for the program and really feel for the kid, man. Like, he was coming in to play his final year in the SEC and have a chance to, raise his draft stock and, go off to the NFL. And now you have, either way, regardless of how it plays out in terms of severity and recovery, it is going to be, a hurdle for him, Chris.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, fills a huge hole. I mean, the reason that this is getting talked about so much is, and I hate to say it, but there's a reality here. If it was a, freshman offensive lineman who you just signed, you'd say, man, that's horrible. Hate that for the kid, hate it for the program. But this is a guy who is being brought in as a guy who's going to play a huge role in this team at a big need spot. I mean, he was the number one transfer offensive tackle in the country, So it's going to get talked about more from that standpoint. It's a bigger loss, I would argue, from that standpoint. And you do hate it for him because you heard immediately, like you knew what he had put on tape and what he's done the past few years at NC State. You knew the recruiting battle that South Carolina, engaged in to win this one. They win it. You get him in. And Wes, we had immediately heard some really good returns on Peak just from what he was doing in workouts, like the mindset that he brought. And so all you can do at this point is hope that, A, he recovers as fast as possible, and B, from a program standpoint, that you can get him back on the field. And honestly, I don't know that any of us can sit here right now and say he's going to be out for X amount of time or he should be back. Like, there's a lot that would go into this because you could even if we had a timeline, we know those things can shift based on your recovery. So we'll see. It's definitely it's a blow just short term, right? Because any guy who's brand new to your program, he's got a lot of experience. He's taken a ton of snaps, of course. He's a proven guy at the Power 4 level. But he is in a new offense, He's in a new strength and conditioning program. He's got a new offensive line coach. So there's, you want a guy like him to be able to go through spring, summer, preseason, and then into the season just seamlessly as much as possible. And at a very minimum, that part won't happen now.
Well, and I don't believe he dealt with too many injuries in his time at NC State, at least nothing that was documented that made him miss extended period of times or anything like that. But especially with offensive line dealing with lower body injury, obviously you're moving a lot of weight there. If he does go through the offseason and can get healed back up, you always worry about these injuries flaring back up. We've seen several guys, look at somebody like a Casey Henry that dealt with injury after injury after injury at his time here at South Carolina. And some guys are more injury prone than others, but when you throw him back out there, again, hopefully it is at the beginning of the season, and he's ready to roll, certainly by the time SEC play rolls around, you wonder, okay, what percentage is he at? Is that something that could be flared up again, could be re-injured? You certainly don't want to have him coming in and out of the lineup throughout this entire season because, again, he's kind of looked at as the cornerstone for this offensive line getting better, which adds to all the more frustration of having this happen now, again, just a few weeks away from spring practice.
Yeah, for sure, man. And, I don't there's no real way to spin it. Like, he was recruited for a reason. And, I think to Chris's point, too, earlier, if this was a lesser-known guy, I don't even know if I don't even know if it leaks out, honestly. Like, injuries, bumps, bruises, especially, like, more minor injuries, frankly, they happen all the time because it is a game, whether you're actually playing football or not, that you are doing different things to build yourself up as an athlete. And so, I think injuries, unfortunately, are a part of football. However, when it is a big name like this, and he is, he's been on campus for like a month and a few weeks, it's like, seriously? Why us, I think, is what a lot of South Carolina fans are saying. Now, I will say this. The one thing I will push back on a little bit is, and to Chris's point, like, let's see what happens with do we get more information on the actual injury? What does the rehab process look like? It's always a process. But to the other side of it, I wouldn't, like, I see a lot of people just assuming how he's never going to play for South Carolina. Like, I think that's a bridge too far in terms of, like, yeah, be upset about it, but I think it's a bridge too far in terms of being upset. And there's been people comparing it to, like, well, the same thing was said about Jaylen Brown last spring when he got hurt. I went back and looked at the statements. They're completely different. And it was said, going into preseason, hey, Jaylen Brown is injured, and it was a number of other guys. Those are all long-term injuries. And so I think because of some injury situations in the past and because of fans typically just do not trust coaches anymore in terms of injury timelines, people are kind of assuming the worst. And, Chris, there's been a lot of different things floated out there on this injury, some of them true, some of them not, at least in terms of what we have kind of heard as far as what the injury actually is.
Yeah, and I think that this is so much more complicated nowadays because you do have, that's a good example of the Jaylen Brown situation. A lot of people, it's going to be just like that. He's going to, this is a guy in peak who, could go pro after this year. You've got NIL, you've got agents, you've got a lot of different opinions out there. And so to predict on February 23rd what the deal is going to be with any of that in November is really hard to do, I understand why people wonder because maybe you've seen a similar situation in the past. We've also seen guys, get hurt or guys that people are just going to assume, didn't get injured, right? Remember the whole Dylan Stewart thing, right? Mm-hmm. Or actually did get it. You can loop that in. People, Wes, you say this all the time, people were trying to transfer Dylan out of here before he was even on campus. He did an interview one time after he committed to South Carolina. Or it was basically like, are you just going to kind of go to South Carolina and then kind of weigh your options? He's like, no, I'm going to South Carolina, so I can play football there. And then Dylan gets hurt. He's playing through injury, and every single week he's sandbagging so he can transfer. No, last I checked, he's on the roster. So you've got the NFL angle, you've got agents and NIL, you've got the portal. In the past, if a guy gets hurt and he has eligibility or he's got an NFL decision, he's either most likely going to the league or he's staying put, or he can transfer down a level unless he wants to sit out a year. Now you have that, and so it just creates all these possibilities in your mind. I think the best thing to do, we're not going to get an answer today. We're not going to get an answer next month, next week. We're not going to get an answer in 2 months probably. Just got to kind of wait and see how it plays out.
Now, Beamer is going to talk tomorrow to introduce Matthew Smiley, the new special teams coordinator, and we'll get to that in a second. So I imagine he's going to be asked about this, when they open it up for questions.
Question one.
I don't know. Yeah, Clownder's probably going to hit him with that right off the jump. I don't know how much more detail we're going to get. Maybe he talks about how it happened, because there's certainly a lot of speculation about that, and we don't know for sure on that. But, it's going to be a wait-and-see kind of thing. Again, you got 190 some odd days till the season starts, and you also have an added benefit, if you want to call it that, of starting your season off against Kent State and Towson, right? So if he needs a couple more weeks, or if you just want to be precautionary and wait until week 3 against Mississippi State, you can do that, because you feel like you should probably have what you need to pick up those wins without having potentially your best offensive lineman available there. So, again, there's a lot of conversation to be had about this over the offseason. Again, first of all, you hope that he recovers well and everything's going good with him. And, again, we get to see him this fall.
First of all, respectively towards Towson, or no?
Yeah.
Sure, respectfully, I guess.
Disrespectfully.
Their AD used to work here.
Who's their AD?
Steve Eigenbrot.
That is right. Okay.
So I think you have to put
respectfully.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They did
they didn't do anything.
They did put out a statement yesterday. South Carolina did.
Yes.
Takari Speaks suffered a lower body injury earlier this week and will miss spring practice. We expect that he will be available this season. So other than, like Tyler said, in terms of will there be questions, will there be answers on how exactly he did it, I imagine what you're going to hear yesterday is going to be pretty similar to that statement that was put out via Chris Lowe.
He's got a lower body. That'll be your answer for everything.
Lower body injury.
He's got a lower body injury.
That part.
He's got a leg.
Has
It's a
anybody
step
said
further than
he's got a
he's
lower
got a
body?
foot.
He's got a foot.
He's got a body.
Got a knee.
It's somewhere on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and as I mentioned, Beamer going to introduce Matthew Smiley tomorrow. We talked about it on Friday. Hire officially being made over the weekend. Again, long history between college and pros. Coming in here, got a little bit of a mix of guys returning in some new areas that you're going to have to address with long snapper and stuff like that. And again, unit wasn't terrible last year, so hopefully it's good and improves with Smiley.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what do we learn, if anything new, in terms of his approach to special teams. What are Beamer's goals? That's something Chris and I talked to him, with him about. What's the next step for South Carolina special teams? And, do the goals change a little bit that you do have a bunch of those guys back? You have your returners back. You have your punter back. I think the big thing for Beamer, just talking to him for that sit-down, just consistency. Like, we saw some good things from the special teams. We saw some dynamic things with Vakari Swain, but can you take it another step to where you do have that consistency throughout the entire season? And I think Beamer would tell you, too, there were some missed opportunities from the special teams where they're going, hey, this fake punt was there. It should have worked. This should have been a blocked punt, but instead you hit the punter, and just, some different things there.
So we'll hear from Beamer tomorrow at noon. We'll carry that for you right here on 107.5 The Games. He does introduce Matthew Smiley as the new special teams coordinator. We'll dive into what happened on the diamond this weekend for Gamecock baseball. Coming up next, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
we got off to a good start, obviously, again, with Craddock. And then, we tacked on a couple more, and, we came out swinging the bats really good, and then, really well, excuse me. And then, we didn't score after that. But I really attribute it to outstanding relief pitching by their team. They had really good relievers, and we had really good relievers, and the conditions were really difficult to hit in. And, so there wasn't much scoring after those first couple innings, and I just thought our bullpen just did a tremendous job, and we did just enough to win. So it was a gritty, hard-fought win for us.
Welcome back in, Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West and Chris with you. That was the voice of Paul Maneri. Recapping game number 3 of an interesting weekend for Gamecock baseball as they fall to Army on Friday, dominate Navy on Saturday, and then pick up the win in a little bit more of a grittier game yesterday against the Air Force Academy. Take 2 out of 3 over the weekend against service academies. And, guys, we're going to have to decide at some point who the president of the Will Craddock fan club is going to be. Because, my goodness, you can't ask for a better first 5 days as a college baseball player than what this guy's given us in this past week.
Yeah, he's been great, man. Some guys just kind of have it, and I think we see this across sports. It's pretty rare, but you do see it. A kid who just kind of makes that transition to the major college level just look fairly easy and not put too much pressure on themselves and – just kind of slides right into a role. And we've seen this. There will be he will slump at some point. That's inevitable. It always happens, not just for young players, for anybody. And maybe he hits the freshman wall at some point. But, man, they went ahead and just moved him to the top of the order, and it obviously paid off right off the bat. Got a ball up in the jet stream and let maybe the wind do a little bit of work there too. But, man, he's been impressive, and I think you got to just ride the hot hand while he's got it, get him in there as much as possible, and just very, very impressive, man. And goes to show you, I know everybody wants portal guys and wants older players. Still, build your roster from the high school ranks to an extent. This is the type of kid you want to recruit from your state, and then you want to keep for 3 years. And, I think if you're South Carolina, yes, you are going to lose guys to the portal. But, man, I know the program is not where it has been. But this should still be a program that if you get kids from in-state and they sign up to play for you out of high school and they play well, your KJ Scobies, your Bo Hollands, you should be able to keep those guys for their 3 years of eligibility before they go off to the MLB draft. And so this is, to me, an example of you don't have to be 22 years old to succeed in college baseball.
Yeah, it's a great point. He will not hit, let's look, 533 all year. If he does,
there's a lot of awards coming his way.
There's a lot of we're going to be talking about a lot of things afterwards. But could he, from what we've seen so far, is this a guy that could be the team's best hitter by the time we get to the end of the season? I mean, I think the signs are there. And, you look at what he's done so far. He's played in half the games. He's got 4 games to, you look at, a Talmadge LeCroy, who I was telling Wes before he came in, LeCroy has been really good this season so far, which was needed. Craddock hitting 533, OPS 1756. That's both of those tops on the team. He's got half the ABs of a guy like LeCroy, who, again, right now is hitting 467. But Craddock is sitting there. He's second on the team in extra base hits. He's got 2 doubles. He's got the triple. He's got 2 home runs. He's only struck out twice. He's got the team lead in runs scored with 9. Like, he's filling the stat sheet and then doing things in the field, too, as we saw this weekend. So he's been a hit so far. Like you said, Wes, there will be a come-down-to-earth moment, a come-down-to-earth game, a stretch, where he's not barreling up everything that he sees. You would expect that out of college baseball, baseball in general, and especially for a freshman. But, there's a reason that everybody was talking this kid up and has been so high on him, and he's He's been everything. He's been that plus way more so far.
Yeah, and that's just how baseball works, especially for younger guys, where you can start off hot, you'll cool off eventually. It's about being consistent as you kind of fall into a rhythm, and I think we kind of see a little bit of an opposite effect with what we saw with Riley Goodman over the weekend after he had a really strong outing in his first matchup against Northern Kentucky the prior weekend. Struggled a little bit on Friday, had trouble keeping command, walked a lot of guys, a lot of free passes there, and now you're kind of wondering, okay, how do you shift him around the lineup? Was that a one-game anomaly? Do you have him ready for a team like Clemson this upcoming weekend? So, young guys are going to have their ups and downs, but a lot of these young guys are being counted on for big things, and it's good to see, Will Craddock playing the way he has, and we'll see what role they continue to find for him because, again, he was Bo Holland's replacement on Wednesday against Gardner-Webb. Holland's back in the lineup for the last 2 games this weekend, and the DH, Will Craddock, put him in the leadoff spot. Like, as Maneri mentioned, you always find a way to get those kind of guys in your lineup some kind of way, and it's proven dividends so far.
And Bo had a good day on Sunday, which I thought was a good sign for him. Stayed up the middle on a ball for an RBI, just seemed to be getting the barrel to the baseball. I thought that was a great sign. To your point, man, LeCroy, I thought our guy Stewart made a great point the other day, and I hadn't really noticed, but then I was looking for it after he said it. LeCroy does look more athletic this year. It kind of popped to me. I don't know if y'all are watching when, the Air Force second baseman, that kid was smooth, man. He made a diving catch and tried to double LeCroy off, and just watching him sort of change direction and get back to first base doesn't move like a catcher. And so there were some things LeCroy did this weekend defensively that I thought were good signs as well. So you got to be happy for that guy to be playing well after all the ups and downs of his career to this point. But to your question on Riley Goodman, Tyler, I think you got to run him right back out there, man. I think he's too talented. I think he's too important to what your team is going to. It'd be one thing if all your pitchers were healthy and you were counting on Goodman to maybe be the Sunday guy. No. You need him to go out there, and he's got to pitch on the weekend, and he's got to pitch well if this team is going to have any type of success in SEC play. So, man, I'd run him right back out there. And one thing I would love to see, too, I'd love to see some type of stability in this lineup. It seemed like it was just musical chairs all last year. I get in baseball you're going to tweak the thing, but sometimes there's some value to guys just knowing, hey, I'm in the order, I'm in the lineup, and I'm hitting behind this guy most nights. I don't know if Maneri believes in that thought process, but I would just love to see a little bit of continuity at some point in this lineup. If possible. To do that, guys have to obviously be performing pretty well.
Yeah, you do. And last year, as we all know, when things go as poorly as they did, a lot of times you are trying to find answers, right? Are you at that point right now through, 8 games? No. Have there been some disappointments? Absolutely. Game 3 against Northern Kentucky, didn't hit. The game against Army, didn't hit well enough. Gave up some long balls to a team that had not hit very well, as we all documented coming in. So are those things concerning? Yes, absolutely. But you're not at the point where, okay, player X is not doing what we've wanted, and a Will Craddock is doing what we want. I don't think, obviously, you put Craddock in the lineup. You don't just take a guy completely out of the rotation or the lineup for a bad start. And I'm with you, Wes. You extend that to Riley Goodman. He's a kid that's got really good stuff. He's got the tools. He does not have a ton of experience, as we know so far. Could you see him getting better throughout the year? That would not surprise me. Do they need more out of him? Sure. That's the case for a lot of guys. And so, we're still very much learning about this team because it's a combination of guys like a LeCroy, right? You're coming into this season going, you need Talmadge LeCroy to be really good. We'll see what the rest of the season holds, but so far, so good on that front. You also knew, hey, especially with McCoy out, you need Riley Goodman to live up to his potential. That has not happened fully so far. He got obviously roughed up during the weekend, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the case for the rest of the year. It's baseball. It's still pretty early. You haven't played Clemson. You haven't played in SEC at all. See how it goes.
Yeah, baseball team in action Wednesday taking on Queens. for the midweek pregame coverage starting at 6:15, 6:30 first pitch here on the game, and then the Clemson series, of course, coming up this weekend. Friday here at Founders, Saturday at Segra, and then Sunday up in the Upstate. We'll come back, wrap up the hour. What is Wes going to confess about? Find out next on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on the game.
I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool.
All right, welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler West, Chris, wrapping
See,
up
Tyler,
the hour here.
I knew you were well rested and just on your game today, man. Very well done.
Thank you. I couldn't resist.
Good song, too.
Foo Fighters, the best, and it started off with I have another confession to make, which leads us to Wes. We have a confession to make. What is it?
I'm so intrigued.
All right, and I would like for you guys to let me know how bad this is. Like, is this a
Okay.
bad? Is this very bad?
Okay.
Or is this just not really even a big deal and I've overhyped it? Okay, so I got to thinking about this because I was giving y'all grief for not really caring about Cool Runnings
Okay.
the other day. So a related-ish type of movie. I have actually never watched Miracle.
Okay.
Okay, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad.
No.
I feel like everybody on the timeline leading up to the game was talking about Miracle like it has a cult following or something. I never really even had like a, I have to watch this movie.
But you've seen like the clip of the speech, right? Like you've seen that.
I mean, yeah, but I don't.
Yeah.
I can't.
There was a dude on did y'all see that on
I
social
did,
media? He
yeah.
stood up on the bar and gave the speech. Like he had the suit and everything. It was incredible. I
So
thought
not
you
that
were,
bad.
No, not that bad.
Okay,
I mean,
all
I
right.
thought you were going to say something like, I've never watched a hockey game at all or something crazy.
I thought he was going to say he didn't see the game at all yesterday. At all.
I mean, that
because
that could be
it was
understandable.
early. It was early.
Well, yeah, but
Puck Jup was like puck drop is like at 8:10.
Yeah.
So
I
hey,
mean, but you could have like, something going on, and you
Sure.
go back and look at it later. Like,
How
I
many
wouldn't shame somebody for like, I didn't watch the whole game live.
how many
you know?
people you think were in church like streaming the game yesterday because it was early?
There are probably some phones out.
Probably a few.
Yeah.
There are probably some phones out. That's not that bad. Now, they did, the night before the game, and I think after, too. Definitely the night before the game, because we were looking for something to watch, and Miracle was on, it was on the tube.
Conveniently
Conveniently, yeah. I mean, get yourself all
Yeah.
hyped up.
jazzed up.
So,
Smart. So,
I'll
Tyler,
watch
have you,
it's a
have you
long
seen it?
movie.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Isn't
I
it
think
like
it's-
3 hours long?
I think it's on like Disney Plus
2.5 hours long.
or whatever. So if you want to see it,
You
got the
should see it.
opportunity.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Good sports
Tyler,
movie.
did you ever do your homework and go watch Cool Runnings? No, you didn't.
I did
You
not.
Didn't.
I
can
didn't.
tell.
I
I
hadn't
mean,
done
I'm not sitting
with
here
the kids
forcing you
either.
to watch it. I'm just giving you the
No, I
options
just,
if
I
you want
just
to.
am asking. I thought you said you were going to go watch it.
Yeah, I have not had the time to.
Okay.
I'm a busy guy, man.
All right.
The Jamaican bobsled team did not fare well in the Olympics.
They didn't.
They're 21st.
Yeah.
They're there, though, Chris.
They're there.
Yeah.
They made it.
Hey,
They're
all
here.
that matters.
They're here.
I don't know. The Winter Olympics were fun. This is probably the most I've been invested in the whole thing so far. Obviously culminating with hockey, but like I was watching events, I had no clue what was going on, and I was like, oh, that's neat. Again, like the skiing, shooting thing. I was like, oh, that's cool. Sure, why not?
The cross country skiing women's, what do they call it? The mass start. That was like the last one that they had before the closing ceremonies. I watched that. I mean, a girl won, I think from Sweden. She won by like 2.5 minutes, which is,
that a lot?
yes.
Did y'all
Because
see?
it takes 2.5 hours roughly to get through the thing. I don't even know how they do that.
Did y'all see Tarico's sign off?
Oh,
Masterful. What? This guy went straight from the Super Bowl to Italy. He's probably not slept for more than like 4 hours a night in the past 2 weeks, and he is always on, man.
I'm glad
He's
you
incredible.
said that, Wes, because I want you had more of like the broadcast background, whereas I have no background. Was Tirico? Did he have any type of reference? Like, did he have a prompter with? It was pretty
don't know.
clear he was not reading off a prompter. I don't think. Did he have some notes? Did he just, boom, hey, Tirico, you're on, and he just rolls with it? Like, I'm sure he thought it through some,
Yeah, you think about that.
but like, it was just seamless.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics on this. I know the fact that go back. We were talking about this on Gamecock Central on the Insiders Forum when the Clowney hit happened, and he just busted out. South Carolina should have the ball, and they do.
Deserves to have it, and they do.
Yes, South Carolina deserves to have the ball, and they do. To bust that out on the fly, and this is, so the situation yesterday, yeah, he probably at the hotel room, or he's had a chance to think through, how do I want to capture this moment? It was very just, like there was some depth to what he had to say. It wasn't just about sports. It wasn't just about this moment. It even, I feel like, crossed over a little bit just to the political realm a little bit, just like where we are as a country right now, right? It was perfect. So yeah, he had a chance to think about that. I'm sure, let me use this moment to say something as opposed to just say words. But man, to just bust out that Clowney call and to sum up the weirdest sort of layers of build up to that, to know, hey, this is a special moment, and then just throw that out there. That was not a call you could prepare for. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
No.
and the moments themselves are obviously what we focus on the most, but having a great call to go along with it adds even more to it. So having the extra context of they deserve to have it and they too, that reminds people of, oh, yeah, they probably should have had the ball and this situation didn't need to happen, but it adds more layers and context to it, and Tirico's truly one of the best.
Yeah, it wasn't just any fumbles and or what a hit or Carolina recovers. Like nobody blinks and says, oh, there's anything wrong with that. But to be able to just take it up to a completely other level, another notch, I'll always always be appreciative of that call, I feel like.
And
Yeah.
to Rico, because NBC covers so many different sports, he's an expert on everything. I mean, he'll be doing volleyball, cross country skiing, luge, curling, whatever. Like he knows it all, and it's very impressive. And he's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, the call or the call, it can be the opposite. You know, you can have like a standard, like the call, it doesn't really affect things, but you know how people always, you know, Joe Buck's the one that people talk about, you know, and the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, you know, kind of just like, what, dude? Like,
Yeah.
really? And I think letting it breathe, you know, so like we saw that in the hockey game.
Very well done. Just
You know,
let the moment speak for itself.
Let them, like, you say something, let it speak for itself, knowing, you know, the goal that the women won on in overtime. Like, let it breathe. But Tarika, that was fantastic. Great way to close it out.
Very well done. Very well done by everybody with America over there in the Olympics. And we're going to be talking about that hockey game for a very, very long time to come. I'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Halftime show up next here on the game.
All right, guys, if you're looking for a company that can come out and make all of your home technological, audio-visual needs come true, reach out to Michael, Nathan, and their team at Integrated Media. They've been to my home. They've been to Wes's home. You hear about them on the game here every day. One of our great partners on the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. They can do so much for you. Custom audio-visual integrator. They take pride in transforming your home with the most up-to-date and user-friendly technology. So if you're saying, hey, I really want to upgrade my setup, so next year's Olympics, I can have the best setup, best on the block, TVs, wireless speakers, in-ceiling speakers, signed into all your streaming apps, and making sure that your internet, your Wi-Fi, is running in top-notch condition. They can help you source the equipment and come out and professionally install it for you. IntegratedMediaInc.com, or give them a call, 803-948-8327. That's Michael and Nathan at Integrated Media.